think about these high-tech unmanned drones? Usually we're talking about the military using them to spy on enemies overseas or even carry out attacks. Federal Aviation Administration, though, just released a list of more than 50 domestic institutions across the country that have applied for their own private drone programs. Includes small towns, universities, too. The list has some lawmakers worried about privacy. This week, Congressman Ed Markey and Joe Barton drafted a letter to the FAA chief writing this: the agency has the opportunity and the responsibility to ensure that the privacy of individuals is protected and that the public is fully informed about who is using drones in public airspace and why. Democratic Congressman Edward Markey of Massachusetts joins us this morning. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you.
First and foremost, tell me a little bit about what your concern is and what you know about the drone program so far.
Well, what we know is that the FAA has already begun the licensing of drones for police agencies, for some other public institutions, but they are saying that they could license upwards of 30,000 drones, public and private, that is commercial as well, in the United States by the year 2020. That is, within 8 years, we could have 30,000 of these drones gathering information about Americans flying over the heads of the American people. And that is something, to me, which I think we should have a big public debate about in terms of how much data is collected, who is collecting the data, how long can they keep this data, are there any privacy protections whatsoever that the FAA is imposing upon private sector companies gathering information about Americans from the sky.
So we know that some of the information that they're gathering, for example, at Utah State, they're interested in water and agricultural research. Kansas State wants to study plant productivity. And so when you look at it that way, you think, wow, what a smart idea. A drone could fly over the crops and actually, you know, save resources for the school and do something pretty efficiently. I'm certain that's not what you're worried about, right?
No, there is a Dickensian quality to these technologies. They are the best of technologies and the worst of technologies simultaneously. Yes, they can provide tremendous public service to our country, and you just listed some of those things. But it also has the potential to invade the privacy of Americans, to degrade and to debase Americans. So we have to basically deal with the fact that the technologies only are as good as the human values which we instill within them. And we must have a debate about it, because some of these drones are only going to be the size of hummingbirds, which can just perch themselves on top of buildings, on top of homes, and begin to just gather information about ordinary Americans. And it would be the private sector, not the public sector, that would be doing it.
How is that different than, say, a security camera or those big cameras that they put on those, you know, things that they roll? You know, I've seen them in major cities for parades and things like that, except for the fact that they're mobile and you could, you know, fly them around.
Well, the difference is that they could be just something the size of the palm of your hand that's just floating over your home, looking at what is going on in your backyard as you walk around your neighborhood, or a store which is gathering information about you for the purposes of just remarketing to you advertising from other companies. So all of this just should be known. Okay, this is just it's un-American for this kind of information to be gathered for commercial purposes without there first being a debate in our country that these eyes in the sky, now perhaps the size of the palm of your hand, floating over your house, are able to gather information that could be used actually in a detrimental way that could harm your family.
Congressman Ed Markey joining us this morning. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's pretty crazy when you think about those drones, because of course some of them are quite large, but then some of them really, I wouldn't even think all that number of drones and how they're going to manage that process.
You know, in a way, the cat's out of the bag on this. The government has been, there's long been a recognized ability for the government to surveil us from the air. It's a question that they can't do thermal imaging. So, yeah, it's an issue of government versus commercial use and the prevalence. I think that's what the real problem here is the prevalence. Is what Markey is upset about.
Kind of crazy.